Kim Gidley, women's tennis coach at the Air Force Academy. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking the time to answer some questions from us.
Hey, thanks for allowing me to do this and for your flexibility for setting this up. Super excited.
Yeah, it's fun. It's good to see. It looks like you're doing okay. How are you and your staff, your players, your athletes? How's everyone coping with the current pandemic?
Everybody's doing well. For me, I've got the great opportunity to have my dad, who's nearly 90, move in with me during the pandemic. So that's great. Along with him comes his two dogs, and one's blind. So now I've got 5 dogs. So I'm known as the crazy dog lady in the neighborhood. Other than that, as well. And my assistant coach, his wife is expecting their 4th child. So they're staying in close quarters right now. And the rest of the team, we're doing weekly meetings and staying updated. And everybody's ready to be back, but it's good to see everybody on the Zoom calls and just a different way to communicate. But with finals weeks coming up, we're ready for the final push, and we've already had graduation. So things are on the upswing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But I want to back up because a lot of people don't know, and it had to have been, I don't know if devastation is the proper word because obviously it's not life and death, but you had 2 seniors whose careers came to an end quite abruptly. Can you just walk us through that? Tell us how it happened, where you guys were when they were told the season was over, and how TJ and Nadine handled that.
Well, we're probably in a really unique situation because we were participating in recognition, and recognition started that day. And to me, it is kind of a day of when athletics stood still, but when athletics ended. So I remember that day, March 12th, Thursday. The morning started off with meetings, and literally minute by minute, information's changing. Prior to recognition starting, we had a brief, rah-rah meeting for our 4 degrees going into recognition, and you can do it. And our upperclassmen do a little special thing for them to get them do it for their encouraging words. And that was it. That's kind of, hey guys, we don't know what's going on. We'll keep you posted. Let's be flexible. And literally hour by hour, so they left to go do recognition. And TJ, hey coach, let me know. And about every hour, coach, I heard this, and I'm like, yeah, through a text. And finally that evening, it was about 6:20, and got the call from the conference of saying, hey, we're done and we're finished. That's it. And so I had to tell TJ by a text, Nadine by a text. Those are the first 2 that I text. And I couldn't even tell the team because the team's in recognition. And so TJ broke away about an hour and a half later, and she was just devastated, just in tears. And it was hard. And TJ, I felt so bad because you want to give him a hug, you want to tell him in person, you want to have a team meeting, and we didn't have that. There was no closure. And the next morning, at 7, the soup has their brief, and so I'm in the office about 10:15, and I'm trying to make the calls to the freshmen because now I hear that recognition's over, they're going to be on their way home, and I'm talking to one of the freshmen, and I'm like, she's like, coach, I haven't even had time to grab my rackets. And I'm like, okay, I'll grab them for you. I'm in the building. I can get them for you. And she goes, no, coach, you don't understand. I'm about to DIA right now. This is like 10:15 in the morning. And so she didn't even have time to get her tennis gear. And that's how quick it happened. And, our firsties, Nadine and TJ, they're working on the orderly dismantle. They don't even have time to think, except for about every break, TJ would call me and just like, I'll do anything to keep this going. This was our year. We want this to happen. And they had 48 hours of just nonstop. They're in the military now. Their tennis is done. Their career's done. There's talk of a 5th year, but Nadine's like, well, big deal. That's not going to impact us. like we're done. And so it was really tough to, not tell them in person, not give them a hug, not cry with them. And then even for our team of just like, bye guys, there was no goodbye, hello. There's no grabbing your tennis gear to be prepared. That's how quickly it went. And so I was really proud of Nadine and TJ of how they handled it and how they moved forwards. So when this happened, that's when we started the Zoom calls, the team calls on Sunday of just like, hey, let's talk. Let's see everybody's faces. And obviously, then with the events happening, some of the tragic events at the academy, as the seniors were told that, hey, you're going to graduate, in the next 2-3 weeks. And when that happened, I was really proud of how they're like, coach, we're done. We're okay. We got it. We can move forward. You need to focus on the team. Like, we don't need to be involved in the team. And for them, they are trying to graduate in less than 3 weeks. So they had their plate full, but just their maturity of, we're okay. We can move forward. Yes, they were absolutely devastated, and particularly for those two. They beat the number 11 team in the country. That was a first-team All-American, and their goal is to go to the NCAA tournament. They're ranked as high as 24 in the country out of 1,200 players. I mean, and it's cut short. And that's kind of been one of my goals when I recruited TJ. TJ, if I don't take you to the NCAA tournament, I failed you. If and that's been something I've been working for 21 years too. Of like, I want to go to the big dance, and we were right there. We were on track, and they were 11-1 for the spring, and they lost to the University of Texas number 1 team that they lost 7-5. So it just goes that way. So, but they moved forwards, and that showed. They just showed their perseverance, their persistence, everything that we work to develop in an Air Force officer. That flexibility, we talk about the key to air power is flexibility all the time. And we deal with it all the time in events. When TJ and Nadine were sophomores, we waited, 15 hours to play a match. They gave us a 30-minute warm-up. Then we had to wait an hour and a half. And then we go out and we beat Purdue in the doubles and beat a team that we'd lost the last year. So they're used to that, and we talk about it all the time, but now it became a real life scenario.
Yeah. Kind of neat to see. It was somewhat tragic that their careers ended like that. But what's been nice is the accolades that have come in after that. I mean, for TJ Fumagalli, who was named Mountain West Player of the Year by the Mountain West. She's been honored by the ITA with the Arthur Ashe Award for the second year in a row for the Leadership and Sportsmanship Award. It just seems like every other day, TJ Fumagalli is getting another award. What would you like to say about TJ? Because, we won't see her on the court again, but wow, she certainly means a lot to Air Force women's tennis.
Well, she basically broke about every record that we have of the major records, but even all the smaller records she did. Getting the Mountain West Conference Player of the Year, we've had some amazing players through the year, and they've not been named that. So for her to accomplish something that no other player in the Mountain West has done for women's tennis is huge. So that's just an amazing accomplishment. But it's the team portion. And I've said this before, as the team part, she's probably the greatest all-time team tennis player. And I say that because in her 4 years, out of over 100 matches, there's only been 4 times where she's failed to not win a singles or a doubles match. And just when it comes to the team portion, she's like, okay, I'm going to win. And she's played number 1 doubles all 4 years. She's the only player to ever be named all conference in doubles and singles all 4 years. So there's just not a more decorated player than her. But with the team portion, she just thrives to be in that team environment and to play for her team. And that's something that the thing that I love is that for the last 4 years, or probably 5 years, we had Natasha Rizvi broke the all-time winning record. And then 2 years later, Chloe Forlini broke the all-time winning record. And then the next year, we had Elizabeth Barnacle broke the all-time winning record. And then all of a sudden, so we've had this constant success of cadet athletes stepping up and saying, I'm going to beat that record. So to have it where TJ left, though, and to be so far ahead of everybody with, a fourth of the season still left is pretty amazing, too, that with the scoring formats and stuff like that, it's that person's just going to have to be so special in order to break any of her records.
Almost makes you want to put an asterisk beside TJ Fumagalli in the record book and just let everybody know she didn't even play all 4 years. She had its season ended. But not to denounce Nadine Lederman too, because her career is now over. And with TJ, they were both, all Mountain West doubles. Talk to us about Nadine and what you'll miss with her.
Well, Nadine just exemplified perseverance, and she had an injury coming in, and she found a way to compete her freshman year, and that the team made the semifinals of the Mountain West Conference and set history by becoming the lowest seed ever to make the semifinals. She was an integral part of that. Her sophomore year, she was out the entire year, and it was basically going to be a career-ending injury, and she had to have more surgery. She ended up having 2 surgeries that year. So definitely, like, she's never going to pick up a racket again. And all of a sudden, her junior year, she's like, I'm going to work through this and do this and find a way to compete. And she was in the training room every day. But so for her to be able to compete her last 2 years, she's definitely been an integral part of the team's success. But it was really neat to see her get the individual attention too. And when they played the Florida State team at Florida State, she ended the match with an ace. So if anybody says she doesn't contribute, or it's just with TJ, she was a big part of that doubles team and their success.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's talk about you personally, your coach, your a remarkable success at an academy. First of all, I guess, what's your favorite part about coaching at the Air Force Academy?
This is going to sound funny. It's commissioning. And I feel that's part of coaching because that's the culmination of how I've worked to continue to develop what their parents have given me and the cadet athletes that we get. They've raised amazing kids to see their personal growth on the court, off the court. And when they commission, I mean, that's just like the ultimate for me. Every year, I just get so excited for that. And it's probably my biggest moment. And I feel like I am a part of that because I help them get to that final destination. And it's still coaching, and it what we do on the court, what we do off the court, we want them to all integrate and intermingle like an interdisciplinary study. So I don't think one of them is different than the other, and it's all together. So that's why that moment is just so incredibly special.
Is that something that you learned after a few years at the academy, or was that always your mindset when you came in?
My dad was former military, so I try to embrace a lot of the things that they do. And in fact, even when I interviewed for the job, my dad put on his uniform and made me know the ranks and things like that, and quizzed me questions. So I've always tried to embrace that. And I again, we're different. Some people call them limitations. I call them factors that allow us to be great. So we're probably the least practiced team in the country, but I want to incorporate, hey, if we go through basic training, how does that make you mentally tougher? How does it make you stronger? When you jump out of an airplane, when you go through recognition, all these events that they go through, how can I carry them over and make them a stronger tennis player, competitor? And then on the court, how can I have them carry that leadership over into their squadrons and when they're in charge of the basics and things like that? So it's really, really important. But my very first commissioning, I still remember it, it was in the chapel, it was midnight, there was a full moon, Casey Mitchell, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I really didn't know what it was about until I went to that evening. And then the next following years when I had multiple ones, and I realized that each commissioning is separate and it's different, and how they do it and how they recognize. And one time I had 4 people at one night, and I had two or three at midnight, and I had one at 6 a.m. and I made all the commissionings, and I'm driving all over town like a crazy woman again. And just, it was so important. And again, how they did that, each squadron's so different, and how they recognize them and they take that ownership. But it's really, I learned it pretty quickly, and that's one of my goals, and why I think I love this place is I want to embrace all the values and all that the academy has to offer, and how can we make them great tennis players using this environment.
I've talked to a lot of the coaches throughout these sessions, and I love how you guys don't see things as limitations when you're out on the recruiting trail. It's more like look at the bonuses, right? It's about how much more you can get from going to the Air Force Academy than going from to a civilian school. Is that the way you would say it too to the recruits? Is that how you sell the place?
It's the parents see it right away. The kids are like, man, I just spent 12 years in school and I got 4 years in college, and now you want me to make a 5-year commitment. It's for them it's a little bit overwhelming, but what we try to do is, I call it the Willy Wonka ticket. If you get an appointment and a nomination, you have won the Willy Wonka ticket and you're set for life. It is that golden. It is that amazing. And I try to explain it. And that's one of the things that, we've been trying to engage our alumni in now, is that when we have, like today is Where Are They Wednesday. And when we've got a recruit or we've just got other people or even my assistants like, wow, I can't believe they did it. How cool is all that they done? I go, every one of them's like this. They all have this amazing story. And so for us in recruiting, we're not necessarily we want the best tennis player, but that's the right fit. And every school has that challenge. And so we just have other unique things that go along with it. And where we've been really fortunate and successful is kind of by word of mouth from players, recruits, or areas. And that's really grown to make that successful. But you've won the Willy Wonka ticket. You're set for life.
I love that phrase. That's awesome. Here's a question that may have come from a recruit. When you're on the Air Force tennis team, what does the schedule look like? And do you have time to join any other clubs? I'm thinking they're talking about tennis clubs. I'll just let you speak to that.
Well, the day is busy, and we do start early. And obviously, as a 4 degree, that freshman year, you're going to get up at, you're going to read your minutes at 6, and you're going to go to breakfast, and then you're going to start classes. 7:25, I think it is, and you're going to go to class till lunch. You're going to march to lunch. You're going to have military training in the afternoon, and you're going to come down and practice. And we alternate practice, M-day, T-days, and one day we go early and then we lift. The next day we do the human performance lab where we do our vision training and conditioning, and then we practice. And in between there, if you can get an individual, we'd love that. And you need your extra instruction with your professors. So, and then when you come back, call the quarters. And so it just goes. And then in between, you're applying it for jobs, you're working things. So it's full force. If you're going to do a club, it needs to be more like, and Joselle Rudico did this. She joined, she was in the church and she was in the church choir. And from that, hey, JoJo, would you sing the national anthem? And so it became a great thing for our team and things like that. But a lot of the club teams, if you're looking for other sports, I'd say definitely no, because they compete, they practice. With our schedule, we're going to have maybe 3 free weekends in the fall and anywhere from just 2 to 3 in the spring. So your time is very precious, and you're not going to be able to do as much of that as far as other activities. And then you have squadron activities that you want to participate in, and you're going to have team dining outs with them and other functions. So anything in order to be successful at the academy, I think you need to kind of focus. And if you're spread too thin with a little bit this, and this, you might have some fun, but to really excel at it's going to be difficult.
Good. That's hopefully that person had their question answered. Another question is, what drill or conditioning that have you personally implemented that you believe has helped your players' growth on the court as tennis players?
That's an interesting one. I'm known as a quirky, crazy coach. Maybe I think of these drills outside the box, but when I think about that, I believe it's that I change everything up quickly. So I don't want to spend 30 minutes just hitting ground strokes so you get a rhythm and a feel. So most of our players have been playing tennis minimum since age 10, but a lot of them are even 4 or 5. So they have this repetition and this stroke memory. So when they get to the academy, I'm not really going to change their strokes. I have to change their mindset and how to compete, how to work a point, things like that. That's what we're going to further develop. So if we just spend hours and our freshmen usually struggle with practice the first year. They don't like it because they don't get a rhythm, and they're used to hitting balls for an hour and then that's it. And so what I do as a coach is very different of, we're going to do this drill for 3 minutes, this drill for 3 minutes, this drill for 3 minutes, and we're going to go to different drills and we don't do a lot of ground strokes because, they've got 10 years of ground strokes with that rote memory. And it's funny because I was talking to my best friend. She just started playing golf, and golf is that muscle memory. And then she's like, "Yeah, when I play a hole, I kind of really struggle." And I'm like, "Well, one of the things that I did, and I, as a coach, I try to incorporate different drills and things, and I've used a lot of golf drills even on the tennis court. But one of the things that I did to get better at golf, so to learn to play the holes, I would hit a driver, and then I'd hit a 5 wood, and then I'd hit a 7 iron, and then I'd hit a chip, and I would do this because they all have different lengths and different fields. So if you just work on one field, you're really going to struggle. And that's the thing in tennis, same thing. If we just do that same field, that same way, there's so many things that go on in a point, and average point only lasts 2 hits. So if I don't need to spend, hey, you got to hit 100 balls in a row every single time for you to get a rhythm, that's really going to be counterproductive. So I think if it's one thing, is just that we change everything up about every 3 minutes, you're going to be doing something different. And that's how we want you to approach a match.
Wow. Spoken like a coach who knows what she's talking about. She's been successful, folks. That's good. Good stuff. So next year you come back, you don't have TJ and Nadine. What are you most looking forward to with this group you have coming back, with the freshmen you have coming in? What are you looking forward to this next coming season?
I have to tell you, every team, and this kind of goes like commissioning, it's so special because they're so unique. No two teams are ever the same. And so it's going to be interesting to see the bonds of the leadership of Meredith Jones and what she's going to be able to do on and off the court. We've started a senior leadership group we've got 3 juniors. So with Kristen Kerrigan, Alex Koo, and Abby Warner, kind of seeing what they're going to contribute and push with an incoming class. And the rising sophomores, the disappointing fact is they didn't have the opportunity to compete for team tennis. And when I say that, I should say Air Power April. That they did for team tennis. I mean, both freshmen were integral in defeating University of Colorado at Colorado, which, anytime you're going to beat a Pac-12 school at their school was huge. So they got that feeling of the excitement, the hugs, running. They had an opportunity to play the number 2 and 3 teams in the country. So they had that. I think what was hard was that this team had done all the right things to be set up to win a conference championship and go to the NCAA tournament. And again, it got cut short, so they were part of it. So I hope they feel bitter. But one of the things is we call April is Air Power April, and our alumni made some great videos on that. But it's Air Power April is conference play, and that's just like okay, beating Colorado was awesome, but just getting the chance to beat maybe Colorado State or New Mexico or any of those schools, that's just as huge, and maybe even bigger because it's a conference match. And so they missed that opportunity. So it's going to be really interesting. Are they going to have a chip on their shoulder? Are they going to learn what we accomplished, from the tough schedule and beating Colorado? Or are they still going to miss a factor in there? So I really don't know with that sophomore, the rising sophomores. I don't know with them. And then our freshmen coming in, we've got 2 great freshmen, one from Arizona, Haley, and then we got another one from Texas, Izzy, and they're both going to look to really be impact players and contribute, and obviously try to fill the shoes of Nadine and TJ. But that's also one of the unique things is we don't bring in big numbers, and very, very different philosophy from a lot of coaches at the academy. So we're only going to bring in 2 because if we bring in 2, then they need the team and the team needs them. But if I'm going to bring in 5, then a lot of times maybe the top recruits never play. So that accountability issue, we want them to feel a part right now of like, hey, Haley and Izzy, you're a part of Air Force tennis, and we're looking for you to be accountable and make that difference. And hey, go after TJ's record. Go after what those 2 have done in the doubles. And that's kind of, we want that challenge. And they both have some amazing talent. So we'll be excited to look for that of what they're going to do on that.
That's awesome. You mentioned the alumni, and I want to bring them up as well as fans. Such a close-knit group that really follows your program, all the social media and everything. But what can alumni do for you in a time now? It's such a different world right now in this pandemic. Is there anything that alumni and fans can do to help your team in this current situation?
Well, I tell you what, along with the pandemic and with graduation getting moved up, when graduation got moved up, the alumni were the first one to reach out, and they basically just asked, "What can we do?" So just the fact that they're engaged in calling me and emailing me and texting me, I think when we found out graduation was moved up, it was like that morning I spent 6 hours on the phone, either talking, texting, emailing, and so their passion and the excitement they want to see for the long blue line to do well and how to finish. And their first goal was, how do we help? How do we help the seniors that are there at the academy? How do we get them through these next 3 weeks so that they can be successful? And that was just so neat to see. And so just the fact that they could reach out, and I have my I keep two phones still. I have my personal phone and the government phone, and so it's great because I never know which number what they have and which one's not updated. So it was really perfect. But the fact that they feel comfortable in reaching out and that we can chat. And then even right now, they made some great Air Power April videos for encouraging, not just for Nadine and TJ, but for the rest of the team too. And they want the team to know, hey, this is what you're working towards. It may look tough right now. It may feel tough right now, but this is the light on the tunnel. This is how it is. And man, it's like really bright. It's spectacular. It's like you come into these new heavens of like you can do anything and the opportunities. And so they each had shared such a different message. Some have talked about bonds, some have talked about mental fortitude, some have talked about physical fortitude, some have talked about opportunities, and it's just endless and and they're our best ambassadors because they've walked in the shoes that they've walked into. And so they're sharing with that, but they've just been so great and everything. And so right now we're trying to recognize them. Today is a Where Are They Wednesday, and kind of the day, since they've graduated, what are the great things that they've gone to accomplish. And my assistant, he's just finishing up his second year, but he was like, man, this is amazing. It's incredible. And I'm like, every one of them has a story like this. I mean, they are truly amazing. But again, when you come to the academy, you're one of the top 3% in the country. And if you graduate, you're probably only in the top 2% with the attrition rate. So you are amazing. And you're not just gonna do amazing things here. You look at someone's track record. They did amazing things before they came. They did amazing things while they're at the academy, and they're continue to do amazing things once they graduate. And that's what makes this place so special.
That's awesome. And I really like the fact that you always invite alumni if they happen to be in the area where you're playing, or to come back home for alumni weekends and things like that. And I really think that speaks a lot to it, because it's one thing for a tennis player at a normal university to tell an aspiring young tennis player why to come to that university. But when they come to the academy or hear from one of your alumni, can you speak to the fact of maybe some recruits or some younger tennis players who hear about someone who's now a colonel flying or doing great things in the Air Force? That's got to help with recruiting as well, right?
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing that the Air Force, and this is something that I didn't know when I got the job, I learned very quickly of when you say AF family or Air Force family, it truly is a family. And so that's a great opportunity. And we're family for life. It's just not a family. And I tell recruits, guys, when I recruit you, I'm not 100% invested in you yet. I'm not going to spend all my time when you make that decision if you're part of it. But once you're here, once you're a player, you're our number one priority. You're a number one priority for 4 years. You're our number one priority when you graduate. And I think a lot of coaches kind of reverse that of like the recruit's the best person until they get there, and then they're going to bring someone else in. And so that's something that it's maybe not the best method to recruit on my part. That's probably, I always say this is my biggest weakness. But I talked to TJ 3 times today that she's way more important than you are actually right now. And you just need to know that. And I don't need to be rude or disrespectful, but she's made that commitment and that investment. So I need to make that commitment and investment back to her.
That's awesome. TJ Fumagalli, my favorite tennis player. I've told that to her, of course. She I believe gave this last question that we have for you, and that is, will Coach Veter grow out his beard again? I didn't know he had shaved it, so maybe give us some insight.
Well, I didn't. I'm so used to seeing it every day, and when I realized it had gotten about to here, and then he shaved it and it just went like this. So, you know, whether it's going to change that form right there, maybe when he has a kid, my wife may make him trim it up a little bit. He might want to trim it up, you know, when the baby starts grabbing, you know, sticking the fingers in there a lot. So I always picture him with a beard. I don't picture him without, but yeah, I think at times it will be, you know, obviously a little bit more here, but I didn't really recognize it myself. I'm like, whoa, he looks like a different man.
Like a woolly mammoth or something going on there.
Yeah, TJ may have to make a bet with him. I mean, if she wants to be a little thinner off, you know, and that might be something. Who knows? You know, if when we get an opportunity to win a conference championship again, maybe that thing might come off. And I think, you know, if everybody could be there, and that's the neat thing too, is when we play tournaments, the alumni come back and they support the team. And JoJo's sister, Erlene, who actually just graduated from not graduated, she finished her residency. So she is now she's a doctor. She's Dr. Rudigo. So that's pretty cool. But, you know, when we played the conference championship when JoJo was a senior, she jumped on the dog pile too. I mean, here's the alumni. It's not just the players. The alumni feel that. And I know that when we compete down the road, that they're our biggest supporters, cheerleaders, and wherever we're at, you know, it's great to have them come out. We played in San Diego, and Lily and Chloe came out, and JoJo came out. And so we're always just going to keep adding that, and that's what makes it exciting. But I'm sure since TJ asked that question, she probably could work some type of deal depending on what the team accomplishes, whether that thing comes off or not. Sorry, Coach Peter.
That's great, but that just speaks to the culture that you and your team have created there, and that's just awesome. That it really truly is a family, and I think that's hats off to you, Coach Veter, other assistants that have been there, and all of the players. That you guys have done a great job. Is there anything else we haven't touched today, Kim, that you wanted to speak about, or are we good?
Yeah, I'm just, like I said, I'm super proud of our alumni. I'm just amazed at TJ and Nadine for graduating, and it was such a unique graduation and getting through, and then our team for just how they've handled everything, and then the athletic department and the superintendent and how they've run everything during this pandemic of, you know, how can we continue to move forwards? You know, if people think, I mean, I've been as busy or busier than ever. I'm trying to learn Instagram. Okay. So I'm getting former players to teach me, but we just have such a great network and a great family, a family of coaches, family of staff like yourself that will make them look like rock stars and everybody. So I'm just excited to move forwards and get through this, and life will probably change, but when it does, I think this group is going to be able to handle it because, you know, the key to Air Power is flexibility, and they handle that well. And that's, again, something that we preach on a daily basis. And so we're always going to get these things come up, but it's not going to be how is it going to stop us as well as it's going to be is how is it going to get us through this, and how are we going to be better from this. And that's what I'm excited for.
Awesome. Great stuff. Kim Gidley, thanks for taking the time today. And hopefully we will all be back in the offices soon, and we'll see you on the tennis court again here quickly.
All right. Hey, thanks a bunch. And all my former players, love you. Bye-bye.